First Contact's fallout. The aurora of engine plasma cast an eerie glow across Commander Elena Reyes' face as she stared through the observation deck of the EDF Intrepid. Earth's newest flagship represented humanity's proudest achievement, their first true deep space military vessel. Elena's dark eyes reflected the stars beyond, searching for something she couldn't quite name. "Commander," Lieutenant Kai Wright's voice broke her contemplation. "The delegation is ready in the reception bay." Elena nodded, straightening her Navy uniform with its gleaming silver insignia. "And our guests?" "Their shuttle departed from the main vessel 5 minutes ago. ETA 3 minutes. The Conclave had arrived without warning 3 days ago. 7 massive ships appearing at the edge of Earth's solar system. After centuries of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. The aliens had requested this meeting aboard the Intrepid, a neutral space between their civilization and Earth. "Time to make history," Elena said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. The reception bay was a model of human hospitality. United Earth government representatives stood in formal attire, led by Ambassador Thomas Chen, who nodded at Elena as she entered. "Commander Reyes," he greeted her, "ready to welcome our first extraterrestrial visitors." "As ready as we'll ever be," she replied. The docking sequence completed with a soft hiss as atmospheric pressures equalized. All eyes turned to the airlock as it cycled open. The beings that emerged were unlike anything humanity had imagined. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies were sleek and elongated, covered in what appeared to be a shimmering exoskeleton of deep violet. Their facial features were alien yet recognizable. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern above a small, lipless mouth. They moved with fluid grace that suggested their evolution in environments very different from Earth's. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I welcome you to our vessel." The lead alien inclined its head slightly. "I am Archon Varix of the Conclave of Enlightened Species," it said, its voice resonating with a musical quality, translated through devices they wore at their throats. "We have observed your world for many cycles." The diplomatic meeting proceeded with cautious optimism. The Conclave explained that they represented an alliance of 23 spacefaring species who had maintained peace across 3 galactic arms for millennia. They shared knowledge of star systems humans had only dreamed of reaching and spoke of technologies that seemed like magic. "Your species has achieved spaceflight remarkably quickly," Varix noted, those 4 eyes studying the humans with unreadable intensity. "Most take twice as long to reach beyond their home systems." Ambassador Chen smiled. "Humanity has always been driven to explore the unknown." Everything changed when Dr. Sophia Lee, Earth's leading xenobiologist, approached one of the Conclave representatives with a scanner. "With your permission," she began, "I'd like to take some readings to better understand." The alien recoiled, its hand moving swiftly to a device at its waist. Captain Michael Torres, head of security, reacted instinctively. He grabbed the alien's arm, preventing it from drawing whatever weapon it carried. The room froze. "Release Archon Zestil immediately," Varix demanded, all warmth vanishing from its voice. Torres let go, but the damage was done. "It was reaching for a weapon," Torres explained. "It was a translation device," countered Varix. "We came in peace, yet you respond with aggression." Despite Ambassador Chen's apologies and explanations about human caution, the meeting deteriorated rapidly. The Conclave delegation returned to their shuttle without the planned cultural exchange or further discussions. Elena watched from the bridge as the Conclave ships moved away from Earth. "What just happened?" she asked the silent bridge crew. Ambassador Chen stood beside her, his face grim. "I don't know, but I fear we've made a terrible first impression." 93 days later, the Conclave returned. Not with 7 ships, but with hundreds. Elena was having breakfast with her father in Mexico City when the sky darkened. Ships larger than cities positioned themselves over every major population center on Earth. Global communications erupted in panic before suddenly going silent. The first strike hit the lunar military base. The second took out the orbital defense platforms. The third disabled the planetary communications network. Within 3 hours, Earth's ability to mount a coordinated defense had been systematically dismantled. Elena fought her way through panicked crowds to reach the emergency shuttle hidden beneath Mexico City's old cathedral. As the small craft broke atmosphere, she witnessed the devastation below. Precision strikes hitting military installations, power grids, and transportation hubs. The Conclave wasn't trying to exterminate humanity. They were methodically removing humanity's ability to resist. The Intrepid, along with the few ships of Earth's nascent fleet that had survived the initial assault, gathered at the emergency rendezvous point behind Saturn's rings. Status report, Elena demanded as she strode onto the bridge 6 hours later. 37% of Earth's military capabilities destroyed, Lieutenant Wright reported. Civilian casualties relatively low, estimated under 50,000, but rising. They're being surgical, Captain Hernandez, commander of the EDF Valiant, observed on the holographic display. This isn't extermination. It's subjugation. Why? Elena questioned. We're no threat to them. Admiral Yamamoto, the highest-ranking survivor of Earth Command, spoke from his position on the EDF Dauntless. The question is irrelevant for now. We need to focus on what we can do with the assets we have left. The remnants of Earth's fleet agreed on a desperate plan. While the civilian government attempted to establish communication with the Conclave, military forces would disperse throughout the solar system, establishing hidden bases and gathering intelligence. 3 months into the occupation, Elena led a daring raid on a Conclave-forward operating base on Mars. Her team infiltrated the facility, their objective clear: gather intelligence on Conclave technology, and more importantly, understand why they had attacked. Dr. Marcus Chen, brother of the ambassador and Earth's leading expert on quantum computing, accompanied the mission. While Elena's team engaged Conclave security forces in a diversion, Marcus slipped into their data center. "I need 5 minutes," he whispered over the comm. As his fingers flew across the interface he'd adapted to access alien systems. "You have 3, Elena replied, firing her pulse rifle at the advancing Conclave soldiers. Their armor absorbed most energy weapons, but human ingenuity had already adapted. Her rifle fired superheated metallic slugs that penetrated the alien protection. 2 minutes and 48 seconds later, Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. "I've got it. And Elena, you need to see this." The team extracted under heavy fire, losing 2 soldiers in the process. Aboard their stealth shuttle, Elena reviewed Marcus's findings as they escaped the Martian gravity well. "This can't be right," she said, staring at the translated data. Marcus nodded grimly. "I verified it 3 times. The Conclave didn't attack because of the diplomatic incident. That was just the final confirmation of what they already believed. The data revealed a truth more disturbing than anyone had imagined. The Conclave had been observing Earth for centuries. They had mapped human history, analyzed human biology, and modeled human development. Their conclusion: humanity represented an existential threat to the galactic order. "They're afraid of us," Marcus explained. "Their predictive models showed that if humanity joined the galactic community, within 3 centuries, we would become the dominant species." "That's absurd," Elena protested. "We're centuries behind our technology." "It's not about technology," Marcus pointed to a neural comparison study. "It's about how we think. According to their analysis, humans adapt faster, innovate more radically, and most concerning to them, thrive under pressure in ways no other species does." Elena stared at the data, understanding dawning. "So they attacked us. To prevent what we might become," Marcus finished. "They're trying to control our development, limit our potential." The Intrepid received the returning team with subdued celebration. The knowledge they brought was simultaneously devastating and empowering. Humanity now understood that they faced not just a fight for their freedom, but a fight against an enemy that fundamentally feared what humanity represented. In the ship's laboratory, Marcus worked tirelessly, analyzing conclave technology. Their systems are built on perfect logical structures, he explained to Elena and the gathered officers. They think linearly, build linearly, fight linearly. And humans don't, Elena realized. Exactly. Our greatest strength is that we're unpredictable, even to ourselves. We make intuitive leaps, we embrace contradiction, we thrive in chaos. Marcus pointed to the schematic he'd extracted. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's vulnerable to something they never needed to defend against: the logical input. 6 months into the occupation, resistance cells had formed worldwide. The Conclave found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Their superior technology and overwhelming force should have ended the conflict quickly. Instead, humans adapted, scavenged alien technology, and fought with desperate creativity. Elena's fleet, now grown to include captured and repurposed Conclave vessels, carried out hit-and-run attacks throughout the solar system. The Intrepid itself had been upgraded with reverse-engineered Conclave technology, making it faster and more lethal than its designers could have imagined. But the true game-changer came from Marcus Chen's laboratory. He called it simply the paradox. It's a data weapon, he explained to Elena. It creates unsolvable logical contradictions that spread through their networked systems like a virus. Their technology can't process paradoxical information. It causes cascade failures. As the first anniversary of the invasion approached, humanity prepared to deploy their secret weapon. The resistance on Earth, the hidden fleet in the outer solar system, and isolated military units worldwide would strike simultaneously. The Conclave, confident in their technological superiority and methodical approach, had never faced an enemy that embraced chaos as a strategy. They were about to learn why their predictive models had warned them about humans in the first place. And as Elena Reyes looked out at the stars from the bridge of the Intrepid, she allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in a year: hope. They were right to fear us, she said quietly. But their greatest mistake was giving us a reason to fight back. The unexpected variable. Archon Varix stood before the Conclave High Council, the massive chamber silent as the 23 representatives of the galaxy's most advanced species awaited his report. The holographic displays behind him showed the current state of the Earth campaign, a campaign that should have been completed months ago. The human situation continues to deteriorate, Varix admitted, his usually melodic voice strained. Despite controlling their orbital space and key planetary installations, ground resistance has increased by 63% in the last 30 days. Archon Zestil, who had been present at the disastrous first contact, leaned forward. How is this possible? Their military capability was reduced to less than 20% capacity in the initial assault. The humans are. Varix paused, searching for the right term. Adaptable in ways our models fail to predict. On the main display, footage showed human resistance fighters using modified Conclave technology against its creators. In one particularly troubling scene, humans had reconfigured a Conclave atmospheric regulator to emit a frequency that disrupted the alien sensory organs, allowing a small team to capture an entire outpost. They should have surrendered, said Archon Kellis of the Myriad Confluence, the oldest member of the Council. Every other species would have recognized the futility of resistance against our technological advantage. Scientist Archon Tella activated her communication node. I believe I can explain the anomaly. The slender, pale blue alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as data streams projected from her neural augmentation. My analysis of human neural patterns reveals something unprecedented. Unlike any species we've encountered, human cognitive function actually increases under threat conditions. The council chamber filled with the soft clicks and whistles of concerned communication. Clarify, demanded Kellis. Where other species experience cognitive decline when facing existential threats, humans show enhanced creativity, accelerated learning, and increased cooperative behaviors, Taylor explained. The very pressure we applied to force their submission has instead accelerated their development along the exact trajectory our models warned about. Varix felt something unfamiliar, a sensation the Conclave rarely experienced. Fear. We have inadvertently created the very future we sought to prevent, he realized aloud. Meanwhile, aboard the EDF Intrepid, Commander Elena Reyes reviewed the final preparations for Operation Paradox. The fleet had grown from a handful of surviving Earth vessels to a formidable force that included 19 captured and repurposed Conclave ships. All resistance cells have confirmed readiness, Lieutenant Wright reported. The Paradox has been distributed to ground teams worldwide. Elena nodded, studying the tactical display. What had begun as a desperate holding action had evolved into something the Conclave clearly hadn't anticipated, an effective resistance that grew stronger with each passing day. Dr. Chen, she called to Marcus, who was making final adjustments to the command version of the Paradox weapon. Are you certain this will work across their entire network? Marcus didn't look up from his work. Their entire technological infrastructure is built on quantum-entangled communication. It's their greatest strength, instant communication across interstellar distances with no lag. He finally met her gaze. But it's also their greatest vulnerability. Once the Paradox enters their network, it will replicate and spread through every entangled node simultaneously. And the effects. Total system collapse for anything connected to their network. Weapons, shields, navigation, life support, all offline. Elena turned to face the gathered command staff. This is our only chance. If we fail, the Conclave will adapt and close this vulnerability. She looked at each face in turn. Human officers who had survived against impossible odds, who had lost homes, families, and friends, yet continued to fight. We strike in 12 hours. May whatever gods you believe in watch over us all. As the Earth fleet prepared its assault, scientist Archon Tella worked feverishly in her laboratory aboard the Conclave command vessel. The neural patterns she had observed in humans fascinated and terrified her in equal measure. Her latest simulations confirmed her worst fears. The occupation of Earth was accelerating human development at 7 times the expected rate. A soft chime indicated the arrival of Archon Varix. Tella deactivated her neural projections as he entered. You requested this meeting, Varix said, his tone formal but strained. The Council grows impatient with our lack of progress. The Council fails to understand what we face, Tella replied. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered in the Conclave's 100,000 cycles of existence. She activated a comparative display showing neural responses to threat scenarios across multiple species. Observe the standard response pattern. Initial spike in cognitive function followed by rapid decline as threat persists. The display shifted. Now observe humans. Initial spike, yes, but then continued acceleration of neural pathways, formation of new connections, enhanced problem-solving capacity. Varix studied the display. How is this possible? Their evolutionary history, Tella explained. Unlike most spacefaring species who evolved as apex predators, humans evolved as prey that became predators. They faced extinction-level events repeatedly throughout their development and adapted each time. Their neural architecture is designed to thrive in crisis. What are you suggesting? Tella hesitated, knowing her next words bordered on heresy. That perhaps the original models were correct. Not that humans should be subjugated, but that they might represent the next evolutionary step in galactic development. We should be studying them, learning from them, not fighting them. Before Varix could respond, alarms blared throughout the vessel. On Earth, resistance cells activated simultaneously. From the Amazon rainforest to the Siberian tundra, from underground bases beneath major cities to mountain hideaways, humans launched coordinated attacks on Conclave installations worldwide. In New Delhi, Dr. Sofia Martinez led a team into the Conclave's Asian Command Center. Unlike previous resistance attacks, they carried no weapons. Instead, each member wore a backpack containing a small device, Marcus Chen's paradox generator. Remember, Sophia reminded her team as they navigated maintenance tunnels beneath the repurposed human skyscraper, we only need to reach the central data node. Once the paradox is uploaded, we extract immediately. They emerged into the lower levels of the building to find conclave guards already alerted to their presence. Energy weapons fired, filling the corridor with blinding light. 2 resistance fighters fell, but the others pressed forward, using the chaotic battle tactics that had proven so effective against the methodical conclave soldiers. Sophia reached the central data chamber. The paradox device clutched against her chest. A conclave technician turned, its 4 eyes widening in alarm. Sophia's teammate, a former software engineer named Raj, fired a modified stun weapon that temporarily overloaded the alien's neural system. Hurry, Raj urged, securing the door. Sophia connected the paradox device to the conclave interface, using the adapter Marcus had designed. Uploading now, she announced as the device pulsed with energy. The effect was immediate. The room's lighting flickered, and the constant hum of conclave technology faltered. Throughout the building, alien systems began to fail as the logical contradiction spread through their network. Similar scenes played out at conclave installations worldwide. The paradox, a data construct that simultaneously confirmed and denied its own existence, spread through the quantum-entangled network like wildfire, creating cascade failures wherever it went. In orbit, Elena watched as conclave vessels suddenly lost power, their perfect formations dissolving into chaotic drifts. "Status report," she demanded. "The paradox is working," Marcus replied, monitoring the spread through captured conclave communication equipment. "Their entire network is experiencing failure." Ground installations report the same effect. Elena gave the order she had been waiting a year to give. "All ships, commence attack. Target propulsion and weapons systems only. We want their vessels disabled, not destroyed." The Earth fleet moved in, their ships, many augmented with repurposed conclave technology, engaging the suddenly vulnerable alien vessels. What should have been a one-sided battle became instead a demonstration of human adaptability. Smaller, more maneuverable human ships darted between the massive conclave vessels, firing precision strikes at key systems. On the conclave command ship, Archon watched in disbelief as his fleet's capabilities collapsed around him. "What is happening?" he demanded. Tella studied her instruments, understanding dawning in her 4 eyes. "They've introduced a logical paradox into our network. Our systems cannot process contradictory information. They are attempting to resolve an unresolvable conflict. Isolate the network. Cut all quantum connections." "It's too late," Tella replied. "The paradox has already spread to all entangled nodes. We've lost 3/4 of our fleet functionality." As if to emphasize her point, the ship shuddered as a human vessel, one of their own designs modified with conclave technology, scored a direct hit on their primary propulsion system. "We must negotiate," Tella urged. "The humans have demonstrated capabilities beyond our model's predictions. Continuing this conflict will only accelerate their development further." Varric stared at the tactical display, watching as the perfectly organized conclave fleet was systematically disabled by a technologically inferior species that simply refused to behave according to any rational model. "Open a communication channel," he finally ordered. Aboard the Intrepid, Elena was surprised when Lieutenant Wright announced, "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the conclave command ship. They're requesting parley." The bridge fell silent. After a year of fighting for survival, the possibility of dialogue seemed almost unreal. "Put it through," Elena ordered. Archon Varric's image appeared on the main display. "Commander Reyes," he began, his voice lacking the musical quality she remembered from their first meeting. "I propose an immediate cessation of hostilities to discuss terms." Elena allowed herself a moment to savor the victory before responding. "I accept your proposal, Archon Varrix, on one condition. You will explain to me, and to all humanity, why you attacked us." The meeting took place on neutral ground, a repurposed space station in Earth orbit. Elena led the human delegation, which included Dr. Marcus Chen, Admiral Yamamoto, and representatives from the major Earth governments. The conclave delegation was smaller than expected, only Archon Varix, scientist Archon Tella, and 2 others. We attacked. Varix began without preamble, because we feared what you would become. He activated a holographic display showing the conclave's predictive models, complex simulations of human development over centuries. Our models showed that left to develop naturally, humanity would rapidly outpace all conclave species in technological development, territorial expansion, and cultural influence. So you attacked us before we could become a threat, Elena concluded. Yes, Varix admitted. It was the consensus of the Council that preemptive action was necessary. Tella stepped forward, but we failed to understand a fundamental aspect of human psychology. The pressure of conflict accelerated your development far beyond our predictions. In attempting to prevent your ascendance, we ensured it would happen even faster. Marcus studied the alien models with professional interest. Your models failed because they assumed we would respond like your species, logically, methodically. But humans evolve differently. We thrive on challenge, adapt to pressure, and innovate most rapidly when threatened. We have learned this lesson at great cost, Varix acknowledged. The Conclave proposes a new relationship, not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. Admiral Yamamoto leaned forward. After all the destruction you've caused, why should we trust anything you offer? Tella answered, because the alternative is continued conflict, which our models now show would lead to the complete collapse of the Conclave within 7 years. You would win, eventually, but at tremendous cost to both our civilizations. Elena considered this. What exactly are you proposing? A true alliance, Varix said. Exchange of knowledge, technology, and cultural understanding. The Conclave would recognize Earth as a sovereign member with full rights and privileges. Negotiations continued for weeks, but the outcome was never really in doubt. Humanity had demonstrated not only its resilience but its potential, the very potential that had frightened the Conclave into action. 1 year after the armistice, Elena stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned diplomatic vessel Unity, a joint human conclave design that represented the future of interspecies cooperation. Beside her stood Marcus Chen, now Earth's chief scientific liaison to the Conclave. They're still afraid of us, you know, Marcus commented as they watched the massive Conclave homeworld grow larger in the view screen. Their latest models show human influence spreading throughout the Conclave within just 3 generations. Elena smiled slightly. They should be, but not because we're a threat, because we're going to change everything. Their society has been static for 100,000 years. We're going to shake things up. Marcus laughed. Humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy, creative chaos. As the Unity docked at the Conclave's central station, Elena reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. An invasion meant to prevent human ascendance had instead accelerated. A species that feared what humanity might become had inadvertently ensured that future would arrive even sooner. They were right about one thing, Elena said as they prepared to disembark for the historic first meeting of humans as equals with the Galactic Council. Humanity is an unexpected variable in the cosmic equation. And the universe, Marcus replied with a smile, will never be the same. In the Great Council chamber, representatives of 23 species watched as humans took their place at the table for the first time. Some with lingering fear, others with newfound respect, but all with the understanding that the galaxy had entered a new era. The stars trembled with possibility.